Good morning. For the record, my name is Sean Powell. I'll be the acting chairman of the Maryland Transportation Authority Board. I hereby call the meeting to order at 9:01 a.m. And just so you know, new secretary and new chairman, Jim Ports, will be joining us shortly as he'll pop over from an from a WMATA board meeting as soon as that finishes up. So we'll kind of flow through and get a lot of the housekeeping things out of the way and then get going. So with that, I'll dive into the rest of my opening remarks. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic and in accordance with the live streaming law, this meeting is being conducted via video conference and is being live streamed on the MDTA board webpage. All members will have their video active during the entirety of this meeting. I ask that anyone who is presenting or answering a question to please turn your video and audio on when speaking. When you are done, please turn your video off and put your audio on mute. To minimize the background noise during the call, I would ask that everyone on the line please mute your phones except when speaking. We have no members of the public signed up, no members of the public, no elected officials, and no media pre-registered to comment at today's meeting. For those of you who are watching this meeting via the live stream, we have posted the materials for today's meeting on the MDTA board webpage, so you may follow along if you would like. At this time, we will begin with agenda item number 1. And agenda item number 1, there are 2 things here to approve. First, I would ask for a motion to approve the open session minutes from December 16th, 2021 meeting.
So moved.
Jimmy.
Okay, so I heard, okay, I think I heard member Gangemi first.
That's all right. Give it to member Cox and I'll go for the second.
Okay, member Cox, you win the battle. And then member Gangemi, we'll recognize your second. Any discussion on the items? Any other discussion or concerns? All right, hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Great, those pass unanimously. The next up will be the closed session meeting minutes for December 16th, 2021. Was there any, I didn't ask this prior, but we didn't have any discussion. Any discussion or concerns about the minutes? No, the closed session.
This is member and Jimmy. I move for approval of closed session meeting minutes of December 16th, 2021.
Member Gangemi, we have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Member Gaines is the second. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, Madam Secretary, that those pass unanimously. The next 2 items will be the open session minutes for the January 7th, 2022 meeting. Any questions or comments about those? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the open session of January 7th, 2022.
So moved, member Carroll.
Member Carroll, we have a
Second.
motion to approve. And then the second was member Rosen, I believe?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Here we have a motion by member Carroll, a second by member Rosen. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. They pass. And then the last item will be the closed session minutes for the January 7th, 2022 meeting. Any questions or comments?
This is member Gangemi. I'll move for approval of the closed session meeting minutes of January 7th, 2022.
Thank you, sir. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
I'll second.
Member Von Paris beat you to it. Member
right.
Von Paris is the second.
Good.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Madam Secretary, those signed minutes will be in your inbox shortly. Next up on the agenda item will be item number 3, resolutions, years of service recognition for 3 retired employees. And we have, and I guess I aired on this. This will be acting executive director Will Pine's first meeting at the board as the acting executive director, as it will be secretary / chairman Jim Port's first meeting in charge when he pops in. So, Will, congratulations. And you are now next up on the agenda, sir.
Thank you, Chairman, and good morning, members. I'm really happy to start off my first meeting with a happy item on 3 resolutions for employees who unfortunately were not able to be here today, but the resolutions are for the employee James Hedgecuth, Kathy Savage, and Daryl Smith, who I know so many of you know as our prior Easy Pass director, and we wish him well in his retirement. All of these resolutions will be entered into the minutes, and a copy will be appropriately framed and provided to each employee to express our great appreciation for the good work that they've done, and just extend MDTA's appreciation as a whole.
Great. Thank you, sir. Any comments or questions for the new acting executive director? Why we have him up first? We have him later too. So, yeah, great. Thank you, sir. Next up is agenda item number 4. We have 4 contracts for approval. Donna DeCerbo is up. So, and what we'll do is after she goes through them, then we can, Donna, I think the best thing to do is as you do each one, we'll ask for questions, and then we can ask for approval for each one and then move to the next one. So you're up, ma'am. Donna, I think you're on mute.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, you are live.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. Donna DeCerbo, Director of MDTA Procurement, for the record. We do have 4 contracts this morning. Our first contract is for Electronic Security System Software Maintenance, JO1B1260004. This is a sole source contract for electronic security system maintenance. Well, 1 second, I'm having scrolling difficulties. This was determined to be a sole source contract. VidSys was the original equipment manufacturer and developer of the custom software, but in December of 2021, all VidSys assets, including their software, were sold to in a foreclosure. ASC VID Holdings purchased the proprietary software code, thus making them the only firm able to maintain our system, which is why we are moving forward with this sole source procurement to VidSys. There was an engineer's estimate of $3,415,900,000. VidSys Holdings bid was $3,506,927.85. There was a 9% MBE goal and a 1% VSBE goal, and VidSys has ASC Vid Holdings has met those goals. I'd be happy to answer any questions. There was also a price determination that their price was fair and reasonable, so we did conduct our due diligence and make that determination. Are there any questions?
Great, thank you, Don. Any questions on item J01B26000004? Oh, member Carol, as we're trying to get him admitted into the room again here, so bear with us. Okay, member Carol, are you back in?
I am.
Great. Were you able? Do you have any questions on the contract? That's what we were just asking. The first contract that was up discussed.
No, I'm good with that.
Okay.
Jimmy, I'll move for approval of that contract.
Okay. The electronic security system software. So member again, Jimmy. Do we have...
I'll second.
Okay. All right. We have a second. Any further discussion or questions for Donna? All right. Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that contract passes. Next up will be the I-95 Belvedere Road Interchange Offsite Wetland Mitigation.
Yes, sir. This is a sole source contract. We are asking for contingent approval pending the approved contract. This is to provide wetland mitigation credits to achieve the required offsite mitigation necessary to compensate for unavoidable wetland impacts associated with the I-95 Belvedere Road Interchange project. I'm sorry, there were no goals established for this contract due to the limited scope of work. Green Vest bid was $1,617,733.68. There were no protests on this contract. It is pretty straightforward for a sole source. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Any questions? All right.
I'll make a
Hearing
motion.
none.
Approval.
We have a motion from member Cox to approve the I-95 Belvedere Road Interchange Offsite Wetland Mitigation.
Mario seconds.
And Member Gangemi's the second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Oh, great. Motion carries. Next up is the WPL and BHT hardware maintenance contract.
Yes, the next contract is MT 3136. We are asking for contingent approval pending the signed contracts. This is to procure full service and on-call emergency and emergency repair services for miscellaneous maintenance on our intelligent transportation system field hardware at Bay Bridge and Harbor Tunnel. This has, sorry. We received 3 bids on this contract. We are recommending award to Communication Electronics, Inc. in the amount of $4,567,665 due to the limited scope of work. And this being a new contract for MDTA, there were no MBE or VSBE goals associated with this contract. It is straightforward, and there were no protests received.
Great. Any questions for Donna? All right, hearing none, we'll entertain a motion to approve the WPL BHT hardware maintenance contract.
So moved, Member Carroll.
Member Carroll,
Second.
second Member Enzor. Any further discussion or questions? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, Donna, last one, the electronic toll collection service.
Yes, this is an A&E contract for 2020-03 for ETC services. We are asking for contingent approval for this contract pending receive approved MBE plans and signed contracts. This is to award a consultant engineering firm to provide professional design services for ETC services. The scope is included but not limited to project management of toll systems, collecting for tolling systems and opportunities throughout Maryland, et cetera. We are recommending award to Rummel, Klepper, and Kyle, LLP, for contract AE 3096 in the amount of $11,500,000. We were anticipating award to up to 3 contracts. We are only awarding 1. We received 2 other proposals that were deemed not reasonably susceptible of being recommended for award. Those 2 firms did protest. The status of the first protest was it was denied, and it has been appealed to the Maryland Board of Contract Appeals. And the second contract has been protested and is in response period. So we have not responded to that protest period yet, but anticipate doing so this week. I should point out that though those other 2 contracts were protested, this is a standalone contract. So we are not awarding in the face of a contract. It is a standalone contract. The other 2 will be assessed on their own merits and responded to respectively to their individual protests. This contract had a 29% MBE goal with sub-goals and a 1% VSBE goal, and Rummel, Klepper, and Kyle met those goals. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Great, thank you, Donna. Any questions for Donna? Okay, hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the electronic toll collection service contract.
So moved.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Member Rosen. I believe the motion was by Member Gaines. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Before we move to item number 5, I would be remiss if I didn't thank Natalie and the entire team over there for putting this whole board agenda together and, as always, keeping us moving and in the right direction. And Donna, thank you for your presentation. Looks like you are off the hook for the rest of the meeting, so other than just to be able to listen in. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Take care.
Thank you as well. Next up is item number 5. Would be Deb Sharpless update on traffic revenue, traffic and revenue monthly update. And I'm going to step away from my camera for just a second because my door is open and I hear some background noise. So Deb, take it away.
Thank you. Good morning, members. With me today is Walt Lawn, Acting Revenue Supervisor. Pardon me. Purpose of this item is to provide an update on traffic and revenue performance through December 31st, 2021. The format that's presented for you is similar to last month. Last month's update was through October 31st, 2021. When we adjust for timing differences, and again, timing differences are those items that when the forecast was prepared, we expected to be processed and collected at that time. But we still today reasonably expect they will be collected by the end of the year. So from that perspective, performance has improved a little bit, whereas we expect to exceed the forecast by $19.3 million. Now, it's important to note that when we're accounting for these timing differences, from a coverage perspective, should they not materialize, should we be mistaken and something happens and they're not collected, we will still meet our financial standards. So now I'm going to jump down to the analysis itself, which you can find on page 3. So the first thing you'll notice is the forecast was $409.7 million. Actual revenue was $386.8 million. Now, when we say actual revenue here, we mean collected, because for this update and for our coverage, we account for it on a cash basis, different from financial statements, which is on an accrual basis. So the 386.8 million is money that we have, call it in the bank. So that has us underperforming our forecast by 22.9 million. Next section, we have timing differences, and the timing differences fall into 3 different categories. The first, we're accounting for timing differences for current year Easy Pass transactions. So FY22 transactions, where are we from a timing difference that hasn't been processed? Next, we look at a backlog. Where are we from that? And then lastly, we look at video toll timing differences. So for FY22, it's $11.2 million. Now that is up from last month, and that was a conscious decision where there was a small period of time where we focused on some backlog transactions. We slowed current for a relatively small period of time. The timing of that was right by the end of this cutoff period. And so you'll see that that's not something we plan to continue moving forward. Other delays are consistent with last year. Last month, processing IAG files. It takes additional time. Now I'm going to jump down to the backlog. Largely same story as before. We're continuing to process files. A lot of times what you'll see is once you get a little bit behind because, we had to work through some things early on, we haven't sped up, because we're trying to monitor impacts on customers. So you end up with a consistent delay that you're carrying forward. And then when we get to video tolls, we've mailed 4.4 million less transactions than what we forecasted. Now, this is mailings. This is not posting to accounts. But when you mail the, notices, you have higher collections rates. So we still anticipate, a substantial piece of this catch up. Depending later on in the year, if it's not fully caught up, you'll see those NOTDs that didn't happen at the end of years will taper them down a little bit. But overall, we have us at 19.3 million above our forecast. So then moving on to page 4, we start to answer the question why. What makes up this $19.3 million? And the first thing that you'll see is that we have about $3.4 million of FY21 transactions that has been recognized as revenue but was not incorporated into the forecast. The next is we have those transactions that haven't been processed yet. So you carry them down. We have a little bit of transactions that CAPS is working through with the region of interest so that they clearly move over into the TransCore system. And then we have collections from CCU and court collections. If I jump down a little further, then we have our average transaction amount for the FY22 Easy Pass transactions is lower than what the forecast is. Right now we're averaging almost $45,000 per day below the assumptions in the forecast. That's an area we continue to analyze. I'll talk about that in just one second. We have average video tolls is slightly higher than what we had forecasted. That's a product of the mix of notices that go out. If you recall, part of the backlog and when we transitioned to AET, overnight, we had reduced the toll rate to the cash rate for, many of the facilities that were not already AET plus the Bay Bridge. So the toll rate is lower for them. Well, we have a little bit more concentration of current NOTDs based on how they were bundled, and that's what's causing that average to be higher than the forecast. That will work itself back out over time. And then good news is we've got a higher collection rate than we had forecasted. Now, pay by plate is lower than forecasted. There's more marketing for that. There's some system enhancements that will help in that area in the future. And then administrative tolls are higher than what we forecasted. Now, you do see an unreconciled difference of about 3.2 million. We're continuing to work with TransCore on that. We believe we know exactly what that is. It has to do with video toll payments prior to the fiscal year 21 and 22. We just have not reported that as an actual reconciling item yet until we can verify that that is, at least the majority of this number. And if there's more to reconcile, we'll continue to work on that. Something new that you see on this is the coding 1, 2, 3, 4. One of the things that, and part of doing this further analysis, staff has dove in deeper, as well as with our TNR consultants, for two reasons. First is, I know in the past we've heard the expression new normal, right? There was the new normal after the, Great Recession 2008. We've talked about new normals with COVID. Well, we're also going through some of our new normal. And in that new normal, is not only with COVID and, telework patterns and people's, leisure travel, but it's also AET for us, and as well as new payment options, new discounts. Those things can change customers' behavior. So we're doing this deeper dive to make sure that as close as we could forecast our revenue in the past, we want to make sure we really understand at a very granular level what happens with each one of our transactions types. The other piece of this analysis, and then they really do dovetail, is we need to understand any over or underachievement of the forecast this year. Is it just an event for this year, or should we expect that trend in future forecasts? And that's where this coding comes into. So anything with a mark of 1, it is unlikely to impact future forecasts. Number 2, may have some impact in the future. And a 3, further analysis needs to be performed to determine if it will have an impact. So lastly is just a little bit of a deeper look into Easy Pass for FY22 transactions. And what this is showing us is where we are below forecast has to do with 2-axle vehicles. And collectively, I'm saying 2-axle vehicles. So it's 2-axle vehicles on the legacy facilities, as well as the ICC, because the $2.3 million for the ICC, our traffic is primarily 2-axle vehicles on that roadway. Next steps for us that we've been working on is analyzing home versus away transactions, then analyzing by facility We are at a process where we're reconciling, we call it cradle to grave, where we're able to track transactions from cradle to grave, verifying all transactions are flowing straight through the system. We have also been monitoring traffic. You know, we know where we are from a traffic perspective. That's not causing any real concerns for us. So we will continue to monitor this and, you know, understand with even greater detail what's occurring there. This is very important for us for future forecasts. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Deb, this is Member Von Paris. I have a question as it relates to page 4, the 19 million that you mentioned, and we looked at this, I guess, before, but the 19 million and then the 13 million, the 13 million kind of from backlog being forecasted to, I guess, roll over or come over to the revenue. Is that what you were saying?
Member Von Paris, I'm
making up the 19, part of the 19.
okay. So I'm clear when I see the 19.3. You mentioned 13. Will you tell me where 13 is? 13 million?
Well, I thought I heard you say 13. That was going to be backlog. That's going to be part of that 19 that is being forecasted.
So if we move back up to page 3.
Yep.
So we have so the how is it? So when we start off with the 22.9 million, that is the difference between our forecast and revenue that we've received in hand. When we then subtract from that the timing differences, the revenue that we had in the forecast that hasn't been processed yet, but we still reasonably expect that revenue. When you add to that the 11.2, the 17, and the 14, that's how we get to the 19.3, because we went from a negative 22.9 million to a positive 19.3.
Okay. I guess what I'm looking at is, do we have any pattern developing in terms of the percentage on the backlog and to come up with the forecast on what is going to be flow eventually to revenue? In other words, is it emerged as a pattern or a percentage that we can kind of, since we're way down the road on this, is something developing from that standpoint is in terms of determining a X percent of the backlog is being forecasted to to be collected.
So for the backlog, right?
Right.
The timing difference is the $17 million, 16.99 million. 100% of that we expect to collect by the end of the year. So
Okay.
when we have each one of these numbers, when we're estimating them, we are taking average, either average daily transactions, what our collection rates have been tracking, all of our performance throughout the year is being considered when we're calculating these amounts. So the 17 million that we're calling timing differences in backlog, we don't have a situation where we think a percentage of that is going to be collected. That is the amount that we expect to entirely be collected. Have I answered your question?
You have. I just was wondering if we have, in terms of the backlog, just having an idea if there's a percentage emerging in terms of what we are likely to collect. I know we're looking at forecasting here. I understand that, but I'm just saying that. But maybe we don't have that answer yet, and that's fine.
let me state it another way. Are you saying of the video tolls that we're mailing, what percentage of them are being paid?
Yes.
Okay. Well, Walt, I know that the amount on page 4 where we say video toll collections is higher than forecasted, and so we're above what we forecasted, and it totals $3.8 million. Do you know what the two percentages are? What's our actual collection rate as of right now for the forecast for video tolls? And please put yourself on camera.
Hey, yep, I just pulled it up. How we run this is we split it up by month, so we can see like by month what has been collected from what we've mailed so far. And we're seeing, percentages from July, August, September, October mailings are about 52% right now. And that does not include the PNOTDs, which customers are coming and paying us early. So that also adds to that collection rate.
So Walt, do you know what the percentage is when you add PNOTD payments as well as video toll payments? Because together, that's our true collection rate for video tolls.
I don't have it combined. I can get it though. I have them as
and-
separate items.
Member Von Paris, I think one of the things that we've observed is that the reason Walt's talking about collection rate by month is that when you send a video toll initially and you post it to an account, the payment rate through the PNOTD, where a customer can receive a 15% discount, that is a low percentage. You know, many customers don't take advantage of it at that point. Then you go to when you do the first notice of toll due. There's a percentage of customers that will pay then. That improves how many people pay, but there's a lag. Then you'll send a civil penalty and the percentage improves again. Then you'll send the second notice after the civil penalty and the percentage improves again. So as the video toll is going out, as the backlog is being processed, the rate is kind of changing based on how many, you know, when we talk about our metering plan, and sort of sometimes you heard Deb talk about sending backlog faster than current, right? So there's periods where there's more PNOTDs in the world because we posted them to accounts faster from the backlog. And so the rate is kind of changing, I think, is the point. It's not static. But going back to your very original question, where essentially what I heard you ask, and tell me if I'm restating this well, I heard you ask related to the revenue shortfall that we're seeing so far, right? Specifically on not, you know, overall we have some flow over from 21 that's kind of helping things. But excluding that, the shortfall that we're seeing, how much of that are we expecting to make up? And I think the answer is we're still evaluating that. We don't know that. Deb kind of articulated some of the analysis that's been done, but we need to continue to analyze that to really be able to tell, you know, where we're going to be third quarter and fourth quarter.
Okay, thank you. Okay, go ahead.
Well, do you know, have you been able to combine, so we know right now for this year, where are we with our collection rate for video tolls when you account for payments for pre-NOTDs, which is our way of saying the customer took advantage of that 15% discount plus payments of video toll, you know, NOTDs? You're muted, Walt.
Oh, sorry. I don't have it available right now, but I can double check. I just want to make sure I'm doing it accurately before I
Okay, we'll
give a
get
number.
that. We'll get that too, you know, but before the meeting wraps up, you know, we should have that number for you. We have been tracking it separately. that we know how much PNOTD payments are, and we know how much people are paying on an NOTD basis. That's important to us because the toll rate's different. If everybody was paying PNOTDs, then the video toll rate is 15% less. So if you don't mind, we'll come back to answer that question, Member Von Paris.
That's fine. I appreciate it. I know it's complicated. The other thing, thank you for all you're doing on the finance side to minimize impacts to negative impacts to customers. I know you're doing a lot there as well, and I want to thank you, recognize you for that. Thank you for answering the questions, both Will and Deb. Thank you.
Thanks for
I
the
just
question.
wanted to add one more point on the reason that the video toll is 15% less is that we avoid the mailing. So it actually, the direct savings that MDTA is able to attain by not sending the mailing, we're able to pass that to the customer.
Perfect. Great. Thanks, Will. Any more questions for Deb?
Yeah, Deb, one quick question. Is our experience with the out-of-state toll collections consistent with what other states experience, given the delay? And I know there's a lot of machinations that have to happen to get collections from out-of-state. But are we on par with other states? Are we below? Just curious.
Member Von Paris, I'm assuming you're referring to video toll transactions.
It's Member Rosen.
It's Member Rosen.
I'm sorry, my fault. Member Rosen, I'm assuming you're referring to video tolls.
Yes. I guess my curiosity when I'm looking at some of these lags and significant lags because of the interstate and how the collections process works is I imagine our collections are less because we have less control since these are not registered drivers in the state of Maryland. And I didn't know if we were doing better, if there's anything that we can change to improve our collections there. Just curious.
Well, our experience is consistent. Generally, the percentage of customers that choose not to pay their bills, it's no state has a monopoly on that, and so generally there's some consistency there. When it comes to what are we doing, we have the out-of-state collections RFP that we're going down that avenue. It's something new that we're trying, and we're hopeful of some success in that area. It gives an opportunity for these vendors that specialize in collections, and there are many state toll agencies that use these collection contracts. We're going to use that as a strategy to help us with out-of-state. And now the lag with the IAG files, that doesn't have to do with collections. That has to do with, just as we are working and trying to balance our customers and the impact on our customers, the out-of-state agencies, they're trying to do the same thing for their customers. And under normal, we use the term IAG, that's the interagency group. That's what collectively the Easy Pass group is called. We have a normal filter time period. So transactions automatically go through when they're within a certain period of time. When they're outside of a standard window of time, we do something called filter lifts to allow transactions to go through. So all of these transactions, it takes a lot more coordination with the away agencies with filter lifts in order for them to process. And we are metering these transactions for them as they ask us to, just as we metered transactions for Marylanders. That's what's causing the lag with the away agencies.
Thank you, Deb.
Okay. Thank you.
This
Member
is,
Rosen for the question.
Member Ardinger, I had a question too. First, thank you again to Deb and Walt for all your hard work on this. And this may be simplifying it too much, but as I look at this analysis, it appears that it's two-pronged. One, of course, is the collection of past revenue, And then there's also, it appears, being impacted by a change in our traffic forecast. And if I look at the bottom of page 4, and I'm not sure if I'm understanding that last paragraph correctly, as I read it, and please let me know if this is correct, the decrease in actual traffic appears to be coming from the 2-axle, whereas our commercial has been more than projected. And if we look at that for a 6-month period, and if we assume that that's going to continue, then potentially the forecast could be off by 16 million just based totally on traffic. Am I looking at that correctly?
Partially. So this is revenue, it's not traffic. And that's part of this analysis because we have looked at traffic. And traffic, even with 2 axles, it's consistent. It's where we expect it to be. So and the amount that traffic is off in relation to this amount is not proportionate. When we look at commercial and the amount that commercial is over the forecast from a traffic perspective and from a revenue perspective, it aligns. It's exactly what you would expect. The same isn't true with 2-axle vehicles. So it's our concern is not at this moment is not traffic. We are looking at composition, facilities, flow of traffic, discounts. We're even double checking our own revenue assumptions. As the last thing that Walt wanted to do is to call something a timing difference and say, we reasonably expect to collect this money. And in fact, we don't. Are we being a little too conservative up above and we're causing average revenues to be down? That's why it's tick marked as, some impact. Right this minute, because of where traffic is, we're not expecting, $16 million impact moving forward. Now, we can't give a guarantee right this second, but that's why it was characterized as some impact as opposed to not a complete impact. And, when you start looking at 2-axle vehicles, the number of facilities, the number of payment methods, the traffic patterns, all of those factors really create a multitude of scenarios that we're combing through to understand, has anything changed?
And so, Deb, I'm not sure that this is available or could be, and definitely don't expect it during this meeting, but is there a way that we could just see, like, it would be simplified for me, like percentage wise, like, okay, we have this difference, and we think, here's why traffic, this is related to traffic, this is related, and give it to us in percentages of what it's made up of. Is that possible? And hopefully that made sense.
But that's exactly what we're working on. Like, if we knew that answer this second, we would not have described this as the Easy Pass's average revenue is down, right? On a daily basis, it's almost $45,000 per day down, and 45,000 multiplied by 184 days ends up being $9.7 million. So we don't have that answer yet. And it's, you're peeling back the onion is what we're doing. And each time we're ruling out something else. So it's almost like we could more say what it isn't is where we're at now.
And if I may, Deb, just briefly, I think it's important to note that typically finance reports on the financial forecast and the traffic and revenue on a quarterly basis. Because of the magnitude of the analysis that we're going through, because of the backlog processing, we've stepped that up to do it on a monthly basis, so that as we're working through this analysis, we can give more, close to real-time updates to the board, so that, these kinds of discussions that we're having here, we can advance each month and not have such a, big delta. So you'll see, if you go back and look at last month's update, the level of analysis last month was less than what you see this month. And so we're expecting next month to have some progression there as well. And obviously we'll take the questions that all of the members have presented and make sure that we try to focus on addressing those questions in our advancement of the presentation next month. So we're going to try, knowing that, we're seeing these types of issues that may be of concern, to give more frequent updates so that we're all, keeping a better eye on it than the typical quarterly basis that we would normally do.
Great. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Great. Thanks. Any other questions for Deb? Okay, hearing none. And thank you, Deb, for great presentation and great back and forth there. Next up is agenda item number 6, Joseph Catrone, the third generation toll collection update, operations update. So Joseph, take it away, sir.
Sean, before Joe jumps in, I wanted to introduce Joe. This is
Perfect.
his first time presenting at the board, so everybody be kind to him. And he's been a great resource. He's been working on the 3G program now for, I think, almost a year. Been really a helpful player in trying to advance a lot of the initiatives that we've been talking about. I know prior to me coming into this new role, you saw my face a lot more, but I felt like it was important for the board to see that we do have continued strong leadership with institutional knowledge on the program. And so we wanted to get Joe in front of you. And, like I said, it's his first meeting, but I'm sure he'll do great. So,
yeah, thank you for pointing that out, and welcome, Joe. I mean, I guess we'll only have like 4 or 5 pages of questions for you, so you should be fine. But no, seriously, welcome, and we'll turn it over to you, sir.
Thank you. Just want to take a moment to thank Will and Jim Ports and Deb and David, our steering committee members who've helped support this program with the 3G team. They've provided a really steady and calm presence, and I've really appreciated since I joined, like Will said, over a year ago. So with that said, I'll just jump into the deck here a little bit. Starting on slide 2, the back office contractor TransCore is continuing their software release schedule. They're going to complete their sprints in the spring ahead of the system acceptance test timeframe. The contractor has moved to an agile software development approach, which focuses on 2-week software sprint cycles. So far, the vendor has deployed 11 software releases to production. They are staying on track, and I feel like the performance has been good and the quality has been good. Most of the production releases in these sprint cycles have focused on fixing issues that are higher priority for customer service and CSC operations teams. MDTA is negotiating with the contractors for a no-cost time extension and to modify for funds with AET and backlog quantity changes. These changes do require the board approval, BPW approval, and DO-IT approval. We have received DO-IT approval to negotiate the modifications and move forward to BPW. Going to move on to slide 3. Slide 3 is the key focus areas. We continue to close out reports And I would consider these more as refinements to existing reports at this time. We're making sure that we have, the mandatory reports ready for the start of system acceptance testing. These reports will be used to evaluate the system, and the vendor is accommodating any changes to these reports as we move towards system acceptance. Related to quality assurance, quality control, and lane maintenance improvements, the JFK has been completed. That would leave only 2 facilities remaining for the highway speed AET conversions. That would be FMT and NICE. NICE is still on track for early spring, to convert in early spring. FMT, the update on FMT is that the lane closures have been announced for the construction activity, and tentatively it looks like a late summer FMT conversion, but we won't know for sure until we firm up that schedule. So that's a tentative target, late summer for the FMT conversion. At the same time, we're still ensuring accurate information is going from the lane side to the back office, and we're making sure that customers are told correctly. And as any issues are found, we're prioritizing these type of fixes, and we're conducting daily validations of the transaction data between the 2 systems. We are closely working with the vendors to identify issues to ensure that they're meeting their key performance indicators and that the maintenance is occurring in a timely fashion. And as we move towards system acceptance test in the spring, we continue to work with the vendors on improvements to the system. Some of the recent improvements we've made with the last 2 release cycles, we made changes to the IVR system. That's the interactive voice response system, to simplify the commands on that. And we continue to look for opportunities to streamline the IVR system and make it more self-service to reduce the call volumes to the CSC. We've made some refinements to the website, including hints and instructions for how to accomplish things on the site. For example, if a transponder is lost or stolen, there's a little icon, little eye with a circle around it. You can hover over or click on that. It'll give you instructions on how to handle that situation, mandatory password requirements, information, how to format an ACH info on the account. And we generally just modified the wording to make it more understandable for the public. For example, instead of saying select transponder, we say request transponder. Just little simple things like that, I think helps to provide more understanding of and how to use the website. And then with that, we're continuing to work with the finance, IT, and operations teams to define roles and responsibilities to administer to the contract, and that would include performance management of the KPIs. And that's it for this slide. So I'm going to move to slide 4. Slide 4 is the post-go live risk tracking. You see the call center is listed there. We're still, high call volumes still persist, but the average call times show some improvement in January. Below that, you'll see a little chart or table, which compares December and January data. So there's 3 rows in this table. The total staff in December was 100 CSC staff, and in January it's up to 157 staff. We're looking to increase that to a little bit over 200 by the end of the month. TransCore has some reps in training right now, which will push that over 200. With that said, we did have some COVID-related absences for January. We had about a 30% rate of absences due to COVID. We compare that to December, it's an improvement. In December, we had about a 50% call out rate for COVID. So it went from 50% to 30%. So we're seeing a little improvement there.
Hey, Joe, can I ask a question?
Sure.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask a question?
Yes.
Joe, will that, as far as the time that a person has to stay on the line to get an answer, will that help reduce that time?
Yes, sir. I was going to segue right into that. We're actually seeing on that second row there,
Yes.
average call wait. Yep, average call wait time in minutes was in December 101 minutes, and
Right.
you know, for January we've shown some improvement. It's a little over an hour. 101 minutes is a little over an hour and a half,
Right.
down to 71 minutes. So yeah, we attribute that that improvement to additional staff, and in order to address you know, like the COVID issues, the vendor has started remote work, like work from home setup, and out of that 157 total staff that you see in January, about 25 of them are already working from home. And we'll probably look to increase that program. You know, it's really unpredictable. You know, month to month, we have to just take it month to month. But we are seeing improvements in call wait times. You know, a little over an hour this month versus a little over an hour and a half last month. So we're hoping to see continued improvement. And as I said, we'll increase the staff. We have people in training, over 40, 45 people in training right now, so it'll be up over 200. So we're hoping to see gradual and steady improvement in the call wait times. And you know, a large driver to these call wait time issues are the backlog. So, you know, as we get through this backlog and we got that behind us, you know, we think there'll be, you know, much easier to deal with call volume to the agents. So if you look at call volume to the agents, last month in December, it was 168,000 calls to the service center. This January month to date number, 75,000 plus, was a snapshot as of January 19th. We think, you know, at the end of January, it's going to be about the same, right around that range of 168,000. So, and like I said, most of these calls, the number one, you know, reason for most of these calls is the backlog processing.
Thank you.
Did you have any other questions on that
No, that's
topic?
good. Thank you very much. Glad to see you.
You're welcome. Yeah, we're hoping it continues as well. One other item.
Hold on one
yes.
second. Member Von Paris, he has his hand up, it appears.
Okay, thanks.
I'll probably do this, but I really appreciate the report and welcome aboard, Joe. And the other thing is, I think that is wherever we can to make the website more user-friendly and create more enhancements to that website that will drive people away from the call center, but to the website to solve their problems. I know there's some brilliant people out there and internally here, but whatever best practices we can find to drive people away from the call center and get most of their problems solved on that website is going to really help our customer service, and you know, should drive down costs too. That's just
yes, sir.
Thought on it.
Yeah, we're constantly looking at website improvements. We have website improvements in every release that we've had so far. We're actually, you know, with the IVR system, we're looking to, you know, make that easier for people to self-serve as well. So the combination of the IVR system and, you know, streamlining that with the website changes, which we continue to look at improvements for that based on, you know, information we get from our communications teams, social media, just our users in general. We continue to make, you improvements on that. So I agree 100% with your comment, and hopefully that will, people can self-serve more easily.
Hey, Joe.
Does anybody else have?
Will, I just wanted to add one more point to that. Member Carroll a little while back had requested that we look for ways to, on our future contracts, involve focus groups into helping make sure that the website is user friendly. So we've got that lesson learned marked for future contracts, but also, excuse me, for this contract, we are going to incorporate that into the development of the mobile application and leverage the focus groups to help provide that input on how to have a better user experience. And so with that, the website will be updated to make sure that it stays in alignment with the mobile app. And so as that mobile app development progresses and we get this focus group involved in providing input, we expect even further improvements on the website like what you're requesting. So I just wanted to make sure you knew that request the member Carroll had made previously, we're listening, we're trying to excuse me, incorporate those kind of lessons learned in here, along with the, using the expertise of our team to make, user experience improvements along the way as well.
Right. Yep. Thanks, Will. Okay. Any more questions on this slide? I'll move to slide 5 then. Okay. So post go live risk tracking, some statistics. Before we get into those statistics, transaction and backlog processing. This is really tightly coordinated with MDTA and the vendors to release backlog transactions on a predefined schedule. We have daily meetings to make sure that we're all in alignment and collaborating on what's being released and when, and staying on schedule. As I think Will mentioned earlier, that we are metering 35,000 envelopes per day of NOTDs, and that's with just over 3 transactions in each envelope. So this would include, both current and backlog video sorry, I skipped ahead. Related to video transactions, we're up to about 37.8 million video transactions posted to customer accounts, which allows them to receive, allows them to pay electronically to receive an early payment discount, that 15% discount. To receive that discount, they'll have to pay before MDTA incurs the expense of mailing that NOTD. And then this would include both current and backlog video transactions. As of January 18th, we're up to 16.2 million NOTD, notice of total due, transactions mailed. Mailings have commenced for customers with greater than 25 NOTDs. And we sent a second round of buck slips informing high volume customers that their transactions are available online, and it's where they can receive that 15% discount. We've mentioned that NOTD and citation mailings continue to make the calls.
I hate to interrupt
Yes.
you one more time. When you say
Sure.
paying online, would that be including ones that have credit cards on file? To receive
Yes,
the discount?
sort of like for the pre-NOTDs. Will, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, so let me just break it down a little bit here for you. So there's different options for the different payment plans that we have. So you've got Easy Pass, where you can have a credit card on file for auto replenishment, where if you go through your transponder reads or even you get an image toll, that transaction is linked to your credit card and it automatically deducts it out of your Easy Pass account.
Right.
We call that our best option. the better option, the mid-grade option, is pay by plate, which is only available for use within Maryland. If you go outside of Maryland, Delaware, Pennsylvania, wherever, that account option reverts back to a video toll option for customers. So when you have a pay by plate payment method is set up, you do have a credit card on file, and every one of those image-based transactions where we take a picture of your license plate, it then links it to the credit card, and you receive the payment that each one of those transactions is deducted from the card. The last option with the early payment discount, which Joe was talking about, customers can pay that by credit card online, but unlike pay by plate where there's an actual card linked to the account, the video toll, they have to go online and pay each time with a card. There's no association of that card to the license plate in order for them to do that. Deb mentioned earlier a feature that we are planning to deploy as an enhancement to help improve the usage of pay by plate as an option, which is when customers pay their video toll with a credit card, we're going to ask them, would they like to save that card on file to receive future toll discounts by the pay by plate method. So we're going to kind of try to encourage pay by plate, if you're already paying with a card for your video tolls, to just save that on file. So that's one of the types of enhancements that Deb mentioned. And then lastly, obviously, if you get a video toll in the mail, you can call into the IVR and or go on the website again and pay with a credit card at that point. So there's lots of different ways to pay a card depending on your payment option. And separately, the payment options can also, you can go in person to a CSC and pay cash if you don't want an auto replenishment option. And I'll when I actually have my executive director remarks, I'll talk about that a little further and some of the challenges that come with it.
Good. Thank you.
Okay. And then one last comment on this slide. We're approximately 88% complete on the backlog processing for EasyPass transponder based backlog. That's about 16.2 million transactions that have been sent to the back office. So 88% complete there. And then 59% complete, almost 60% complete on the video backlog. Approximately 16.9 transactions have been sent to the back office. So we're making, good progress on, pumping the backlog items and metering them out, but, getting them posted to accounts. So I think once we get beyond backlog, we'll be, it'll be more smooth sailing. So that's all I had for, the presentation today. Does anybody have any questions? I'll just jump back over to the.
Okay, thank you, Joe. I'm going to do see that Jimmy has his hand up, so fire away.
Yeah, just checking. It sounds like you, from what you're saying, it's all very positive news, I think. So thank you. Sounds like we're on target for being all caught up by the end of June.
Will, would you take that one, Will?
I'll tackle that one. We've publicly been saying summer of this summer. The reason there's, Deb talked about in her presentation, the IAG processing, certainly the, transactions that are out of state require a lot more coordination, and so that's kind of challenging dealing with those. Also, it's important to note, Member Ganjami, when we're talking about backlog clearing, right? Typically, when we're saying summer, we're talking about having it posted to an account, okay? Posting to an account for a video customer, as I mentioned earlier, is oftentimes not the point that triggers them paying. The mailing of the notices of toll due will follow. Right now, on average, that's running about 60 days behind when it posts to an account, which, and again, that 60 days is a benefit to them because they have the opportunity to receive a 15% discount. Once it's mailed, we follow with the civil penalty about 60 days behind that. And so, you're talking 120 days behind when it posts the account to where you're actually truly clearing out the backlog from a customer's perspective. So
I'm just looking forward to getting the bills in their hands. That's my goal.
understood.
Yeah.
Okay. Any further questions for Joe or Will while he's still has the hot mic? Okay. Great. Thank you, Joe and Will, for the assistant. Will, Joe, welcome to the, Will threw you right into the deep end of the pool in your first meeting, which is perfect. So, and you did well.
Thank you very much. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
He's been in the deep end with no floaties for a while now. So
Yeah, you're just finally showing him off to the rest of the world. That's perfect. So again,
Yeah.
appreciate that.
Thank you, guys. All right.
I'm not sure, but I believe Chairman Ports may be available now. Is that correct?
So Sean, yeah, I'm going to try and drop off this one right here.
Okay. You want me to go ahead and knock out items 7 and 8, and then you can pop over?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, and we'll have you ready for item number 9. Okay, so next up, Brad Ryan, a legislative update on item number 7.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and board members. I'm here today to provide the board with an update on the 2022 session of the Maryland General Assembly, which convened this year's 90-day session on January 12th and will run through April 11th. Both houses are now focused exclusively on committee work. There are a number of legislative efforts that specifically impact the MDTA that I'd like to update you on. Delegate Carr and Senator Wallstreicher have introduced cross-filed legislation, House Bill 29 and Senate Bill 105, that would prohibit suspending the vehicle registration for vehicles that hit the $1,000 threshold of toll debt. That $1,000 threshold is established in COMAR. The legislation would still allow the flagging of vehicle registrations for non-renewal for toll debt. MDTA is concerned that these bills could harm the consumer by allowing individuals to amass more toll debt, and we submitted a letter of information for the Senate bill, which had a hearing last week. A hearing on the House bill is pending. Senator McCray has introduced legislation, Senate Bill 59, which requires the MDTA to offer a range of options to pay for toll transactions and penalties at toll facilities, authorizes the MDTA to refer certain unpaid tolls and penalties to Central Collections Unit, requires the MDTA to recall certain unpaid video tolls and penalties from CCU, requires the MDTA to waive penalties under certain circumstances, and requires the MDTA to offer a certain installment plan agreement to certain persons for the payment of certain video tolls and penalties. If enacted, Senate Bill 59 would have a significant fiscal and operational impact on the MDTA and would likely violate our trust agreement. We've had numerous productive conversations with the bill sponsor and look forward to continuing to work together on this bill. A bill hearing on this bill was held this Tuesday, and we submitted a letter of information highlighting our numerous concerns. Delegate Healy has introduced legislation, House Bill 38, which would allow the MDTA to recall certain debts from the state central collection unit and would provide the MDTA with more flexibility to work with its customers who have debts at CCU. A bill hearing on this is also pending. Delegate Krim has introduced legislation, House Bill 175, which establishes a 2-year program for the payment of unpaid video tolls by Maryland residents if certain conditions are met. The legislation requires MDTA to notify eligible state residents of the program, waive 70% of a resident's delinquent unpaid video tolls and related civil penalties that became delinquent before July 1st of this year, require a resident to pay the remaining balance of unpaid video tolls and civil penalties after deducting the waived amount and CCU fees. After deducting the waived amount and CCU fees, to allow a resident to enroll in a 6-month installment plan to repay the remaining balance, and to require a resident to maintain an Easy Pass until July the 30th of 2024. A bill hearing for this bill is also pending, and we will highlight the large cost of the fiscal note and the fact that this bill would also likely violate our trust agreement. It is also a possibility that out-of-state residents could pose legal challenges for their inability to be in the program. Lastly, Delegate Foley has introduced legislation, House Bill 335, which would allow a customer to dispute charges to their Easy Pass account within 3 years of when the charge hits the account. This is a change from the current stipulation that disputes that it must be made within 120 days from when the transaction is posted to the account. This bill was introduced earlier this week and is also waiting a bill hearing. We will be sure to keep you updated on these bills and any other future bills that might be introduced that impact our agency. In closing, I'd like to virtually introduce you to our new Assistant Manager of Government Relations, Anna Dove, who joined us in September of last year. Anna has previous experience working in the General Assembly and is a valuable member of the team. And with that, I thank you for your time, and we would be happy to entertain any questions you might have.
Thank you, Brad. Is Anna available to pop on so we can?
Anna?
Is she?
Yep, yeah, I'm
pop
right
on?
here.
Okay, great. Thank you. Welcome, Anna. I see your emails all the
Thank
time, updates and all, so we appreciate
Yeah,
it.
thank you. Nice to meet you guys.
Any questions for Brad or Anna? I mean, since she's, we threw Joe in there, so if you have any questions for Anna on her first meeting, that'd be great too.
Throw her the hard ones.
Yeah, exactly. That's why you brought her on, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Perfect.
I got a
Okay.
question. It's not really
Yes.
really MDTA related, but what's going on with redistricting? Has the governor vetoed the existing maps now? He's going to, I know.
Anna, do you want to take that one? I know you're
Yes,
following that much closer than I am.
yeah, the latest update I have on that is so it has passed, but I do not think the governor has vetoed it yet. However, I've not looked at it in the past like 2 days. So unless that's changed in the past 2 days, then that's where it stands right now.
So where does this end up? I mean, he's going to veto it. They're going to override. And can we get it in the courts?
Yeah, that's the plan. That's my understanding.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's still a
I
plan.
don't-
I heard that from a while ago.
yeah.
Remember, Gaines, I can answer.
Okay, good.
I've been through it a couple times. I don't know if the former delegate from Baltimore County has, but when the General Assembly passes a redistricting bill, the governor cannot veto it. They pass a plan. If they bypass his plan and go with their plan, it cannot be vetoed. The only way it can be done is someone can appeal it to the Court of Appeals. The plan that was passed by the General Assembly.
Okay.
That's just changed from my day, which is 100 years ago. I think that's the way it stands.
So it avoids a couple of steps, really.
Yeah.
I guess that's the plan, to appeal it.
Am I, Anna, you want to chime in? Am I correct?
I'm not sure if that's changed from your day, but I can definitely check it out and get back to you guys.
I mean, the media is talking about it's going to be vetoed, so they don't understand that. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, from the MDTA perspective, it's pretty certain that while our team, I compliment them on many things. I mean, Anna and Brad have been so instrumental to me this session, and they keep such a great track on all of our bills and have developed such good relationships with the staffers and with the elected officials as a whole, and are very, very responsive to constituent requests. It's pretty unlikely that MDTA would weigh in on redistricting, and so
And there wouldn't be the opportunity to, Will. And Member Cox, I know that a lot of things have modernized in the last 100 years. I don't think that process has. With that, I believe I see that the chairman's button is live. So I am pleased to pass the baton over for item number 8 to the new MDTA chairman and secretary. The Marines have officially landed in the meeting. Mr.
Okay.
Chairman.
All right. So first of all, Bill is correct. They can only pass one map. So that's it for that. So thank you, Sean. So next is the update by the executive director, Will Pines.
Thanks, Jim. Well, good morning, and I want to start off by wishing the board a very happy new year. We had a special meeting already, but this is our first full board, and certainly 2022 will be another very productive year for the MDTA. We are continuing to make great progress on many of our projects, like the new Nice Middleton Bridge and the northbound extension on I-95. And we will continue to make significant progress in removing the toll plazas. You heard Joe's update on all electronic tolling, and it's great to be making that a reality at our facilities. And also the Bay Crossing study team is continuing to make progress on the Tier 1 NEPA process, and we anticipate the approved FEIS ROD will be complete this winter. So exciting news there. So Mr. Chairman and fellow board members, I'm pleased to be here in what's my first board meeting as acting executive director of the MDTA. It'll be an honor to work with you and serve both our dedicated workforce, our customers, and this board. I've enjoyed working with the board in my previous role as Chief Operating Officer, and look forward to continuing our work together as we embark onto 2022. As Brad mentioned, the General Assembly began its session on January 12th, and I've met with some of the key legislators virtually, and will continue to make outreach through the 90-day legislative session. On January 5th, we held the Bay Bridge Reconstruction Advisory Group, or what we call BRAG, and it held its first quarterly meeting, which was virtual for this calendar year. The discussion amongst the BRAG members covered several topics. State Highway Administration reported that additional Stay on 50 signs are scheduled to go in before Memorial Day, which should make many of the local residents quite happy. Heather Lowe, one of our great team members in planning, she provided a briefing on the Bay Crossing study, as I mentioned, and the status of the Tier 1 NEPA, which led to some good discussions about possible paths forward on funding a potential Tier 2 NEPA study, which Chairman Ports had provided to the group, and also there was some good discussion from some of the members. Brad Ryan provided the group with an overview of the Anne Arundel and Queen Anne's County resolutions that have been issued in support of a replacement bridge where the current bridges stand. And Queen Anne's County provided updates, on their continued activities in support for funding for the Tier 2 NEPA study. I'm also happy to report that at the beginning of January, our Division of Communications worked with EasyPass Operations to develop a New Year's resolutions email that went out to more than 1 million EasyPass customers who have email addresses associated with their accounts. To help our EasyPass customers start off the year right, so that they can receive their lowest toll rates, we emailed an easy checklist to follow to avoid paying higher rates. In that email blast, we provided a list of the best practices for EasyPass customers to follow. And specifically, we had 5 questions that were asked. The first was, is your EasyPass account fully funded? And this is particularly an issue for customers who do not have what we refer to as auto replenishment on their accounts. If they don't have it funded and they don't have auto replenishment, then their accounts can go negative, and that can cause problems where they no longer will receive the video rate. And then the second best practice question that we ask is, does your account have a valid, up-to-date credit card on file to avoid a negative balance? So that's making sure you don't have an expired credit card. And are all vehicle license plates on the account? And we see a few common issues here where some customers' credit cards expire, resulting in them to go negative on their accounts. And when an account is negative, video tolls are sent for those transactions while the account is negative. And commuter trips are also lost during that period. And so while those commuter trips are lost when you become positive again, and we go to count the number of commuter trips that you've used in the month, the customer shorted those trips while that customer was negative. We also see that when customers get new vehicles, the license plates are sometimes not updated on their EasyPass account. And this particularly becomes a problem when their transponder is not mounted, because without the mounting and the wrong plate on file, there's really no way for us to associate that vehicle to an EasyPass account. And so a video toll is sent. So those were the first two best practices. And the last three best practices are really all connected to properly mounting transponders and the supplies associated with doing that. So the last three questions were, is your transponder mounted and working correctly? Do you need transponder mounting strips? And the last question is, are you avoiding image tolls or eye tolls? And we included a video excuse me, on what eye tolls are, how to avoid them, and it's been viewed more than 20,000 times as a result of that email distribution. That video also went out to elected officials and on our social media platforms. This messaging campaign that our communications team put out has been really successful. 53% of the recipients of the email actually opened it, and 3.7% actually clicked through to the links. And both the open and click rates are really well above industry averages. So that was a great result for us on that campaign. After seeing the successful open rate on that email campaign, we've already begun planning future emails, and we'll make sure that the content is adjusted as needed to cover any common issues that we see in our customer service centers and at the call center at the time of the email distribution. One type of example is just really trying to make sure that, that resolution email was focused on EasyPass, but there's also best practices for our video customers, and we're talking about putting out an update for that. I also personally visited our Fort McHenry Tunnel Customer Service Center yesterday for over an hour and a half to directly listen to our customers' concerns and to thank our customer service representative team for their hard work as we continue to process backlog tolls. During my time there, I observed that every EasyPass customer's billing issue was directly related to an issue that stemmed from one of those best practices in our email blast. Video customers, what I observed was that they had a lot of questions in general about backlog tolls, why they were so old, and just not having a general understanding of the backlog. Obviously, we've done a lot of communications on that, but we'll continue to reach out to our video customers. And my final comment is really bittersweet. I'm happy to announce that Ebony Moore has left us to go to work for the chairman of the board and MDOT Secretary Jim Ports. As you know firsthand, Ebony is just a tremendous asset to the MDTA organization, and we're confident in that she'll continue to do great work at the secretary's office, and we'll work with her. The good news is she's remaining in the MDOT family and has an open invitation to come back and visit anytime. Natalie and I are thankful for her taking the time to be here with us this morning to help with this month's board meeting, and just really truly appreciate all of the incredible work that Natalie has done. I mean, and Ebony has done, excuse me, Ebony. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions that the board may have.
Will
Mr. Chairman,
Pines.
I mean,
um,
it's unbelievable that you would steal that fast one of our star employees. I mean, that was so quick. I mean, I guess you used Marine, you went down to Paris Island and then it got retrained.
Bill,
Hey,
I will
I
say
want to
this.
piggyback on Member Cox's comments. Secretary Ports, your Cheshire Cat smile really didn't do anything to help us salve the wound. And I just want to let you know that.
Well, I appreciate that, but let me say this. You might recall that I was the one that brought her on to begin with. And so she did. She asked me for this. She actually came to me and asked me for this opportunity. And I felt she deserved that opportunity. We had actually two fantastic people in both Natalie and Ebony. And I just thought it was a good opportunity for Ebony to grow in her career. And so I was more than happy to accommodate her, Dante.
I think she was just tired of lugging all those cookies around.
Okay, so is that your end of your report there, Will?
I had a
That's all
question.
I've got, Chairman.
I have a
Ebony,
question.
Ebony, did you want to say something? You're on mute. She's usually telling me that. Yeah, somebody's got to cut off. Oh, well. All right. I guess we'll figure out later. But anyway.
I had a quick question, Mr. Secretary. On the nice bridge, two questions. First of all, anything happening with the Tiffy loan? Is that and the possible loss of that? And the second part of the question is, what is the weather doing is it affecting our schedule down there at all? Pretty nasty to be out on the water these days.
Yeah. So the first one, I spoke to Stephanie Pollock from FHWA. She's the deputy administrator at this time for FHWA. We had a very nice conversation. Explained to her, I guess, some of the things she didn't recognize or didn't realize about the nice bridge. One, the decision that we had to make. Well, let me go back. One, the fact that neither county had a bicycle plan to begin with, and no other bicycle routes other than what would be at the bridge. And we have put accommodations for bicycles on that bridge. And the fact that the trust agreement would prohibit us from putting any kind of bike trails or any bike access along that 301 route. Obviously on the Virginia side, we can't do anything. We don't own it, but even on the Maryland side, because we do not own the facility and the trust agreement prevents us from spending money on anything that we do not absolutely own. And she understood that. And then I also explained to her that in the original RFP, a bike lane was not even considered because there was no bike trails or bike access on either side. But Governor Hogan committed to putting that into the RFP. As you recall, it was a separate part of the document. It came out to about $64 million. And at that point, we had a $60 million fix that you all had seen on I-95. And when I explained to her that, we have about 10,000 people down that area, 17,000 cars go over that bridge, nice bridge I'm talking about, and we have hundreds of thousands of people going down I-95 per day, where we have, increased fatalities and injuries, that because we have a finite amount of money, the board had a critical decision to make, and you all opted to look at safety on the I-95 corridor and spend that money in that place. It was almost the exact same amount, 64 and 60, right, or approximately those figures. And so she absolutely understood that, because safety is a focus of theirs too. So she thanked me for all the extra information. And I asked her if I should circle back with her. She said she was going to talk to the board. And so we're waiting on information to see if we get on the February or March agenda at this point.
Very good.
As for the weather, will have to answer that one. Sure, I'll start and then maybe turn it over to Jim Harkness to add on anything. But so I just got an update yesterday from the team. The project is still on schedule. All of our construction contracts include provisions where it's based on the district that the work is performed, how many poor weather days to plan for per month. And so while we've had some snow and winds, this year, I don't believe, to the best of my knowledge, is not really that different than typical years in terms of weather impacts on the project. So we are still on schedule. Jim, I don't know if Jim Harkness, I don't know if you have anything more to add about the Nice Middleton Bridge schedule.
Yeah, thanks, Will. This is Jim Harkness, Chief Engineer for MDTA. Just wanted to add that while that one snowfall down there that we had a little while back was a little unusual, the team, did have to work through and clear some snow. They were able to continue with work. They're finished the driving of piles and setting of the bathtubs on the Virginia side. They're hoping to wrap up the concrete girder fabrication in the next month or so. They're continuing with the placement of those concrete girders. They're set to set the last portion of the structural steel in the next week or two. And then they are continuing with their deck pours. So things are still underway. We're currently working with CAPS on the AET gantry and getting that ready for the conversion and go live in March. So things are still underway, and the team and schedule is still looking really good.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? All right. Well, I think we reached that moment where we're going to go into closed session. For those portions of the agenda, this closed session is scheduled for the board members and designated staff. Per the Maryland Open Meetings Act, the MDTA board will meet in closed session under the General Provisions Article Sections 3-305B, 7, and 9 to discuss matters related to collective bargaining negotiations with FOP 34 that have not yet been ratified, and to consult with counsel to receive legal advice regarding the legal duties of the MDTA board related to the collective bargaining agreement. General Provisions Article Sections 3-305 B1 to discuss the compensation of one or more specific individuals of the MDTA Police Command Staff, and General Provisions Article Sections 3-305B 10 and 12 to receive an update on deployment of police staff and resources and other security measures, and to discuss a pending investigative proceeding involving possible criminal conduct, and General Provisions Article Sections 3-305B 8 to receive a status update on all litigation currently pending against the MDTA. With that, I'll entertain a motion to go into closed session and record the vote on that statement.
Member Cox will make that motion to go in executive session.
I'll second that. Member Gaines.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to go into closed session. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. So for those persons on the line, the board will now be hanging up. and meeting separately in a closed session. As soon as we've completed the closed session, we will call back into this open session meeting to complete the agenda and ratify any actions that might be taken in closed session. We appreciate your patience and ask that you please remain on the line if you desire. Members, please hang up from this open session and go to the closed session. Thank you.
Yes, sir. It looks like all members are back.
Okay, great. All right. Well, good afternoon. The time is now 12:05 p.m. and the board has completed its closed session. Is there a motion to ratify the actions taken in closed session to approve extending the same compensation benefits to members of the MDTA Police Command Staff that will be granted to union members under the pending collective bargaining agreement, contingent upon the MDTA board approval, governor's signature, and ratification by the FOP?
I'll make the motion, Member Cox.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved by Member Cox and seconded by Member Von Paris. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Are we doing,
Any
are we
opposed?
doing the discussion?
Yeah. Well, I was going to ask if there was any questions or discussion.
So
Sorry,
if
I
I
just
might-
did the Robert thing.
It's fine.
So if I might, Mr. Chairman, just one quick statement. Just wanted to note, the board would like to direct Will Pines to work with DBM to secure an MOU for previously negotiated funding to offset the increased funds that we just approved in support of MDTA's outstanding police force.
Okay. All right. So we had the motion and we took the vote. So the vote's clear. It was unanimous. So with that, we can move on to item number 13, which is the approval of collective bargaining agreement with Fraternal Order Police, Lodge 34. Contingent approval on the FOP ratification of the memorandum of understanding between MDTA and the FOP Lodge 34. That's Percy, Tanya, and Chris.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Chair, members of the board. My name is Percy Dangerfield. For the record, I'm the Chief Administrative Officer for MDTA. The purpose of this memorandum is to seek approval from the Maryland Transportation Board to provide additional benefits to certain members of MDT Police as a result of the agreement reached between MDTA and the Fraternal Order Police Lodge 34. In summary, on December 31st, 2021, the state and the FOP had reached a tentative agreement through collective bargaining. This final agreed upon package is a 3-year package. It's effective July 1, 2022 through June 30th, 2025. By way of highlights, this agreement includes a 7% cost of living adjustment, fiscal year 2023, a one-step increase for all bargaining unit members effective January 1, 2023, a 5% cost of living adjustment in fiscal year 2024, one-step increase for bargaining unit members January 1, 2024, and a 5% cost of living adjustment in fiscal year 2025, which also includes a step increase in 2025. In addition, the bargaining unit will receive additional cars, which will be distributed to the officers at rank of sergeant and up to not to exceed 50 officers that are members of the civil disturbance team. It's MDTA's recommendation that the board approve this agreement between MDTA and the FOP Lodge 34, which will be contingent upon signature from the governor and ratification by the FOP. Myself and my team are available for additional questions. Thank you.
So are there any questions of Percy or anyone else?
This is Mario. I will move for approval.
Contingent.
I'll second it.
Contingent approval, right?
Contingent approval, right.
Contingent.
Yeah, it's contingent approval and the FOP ratification, of course, of the memorandum of understanding between MDTA and FOP Lodge 34. And as Percy said, under signature of the governor and all that other formalities. So with that, it's been moved and seconded for approval. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any
Aye.
opposed? Okay, the motion carries. All right, at this point, the agenda is complete. Is there a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
I'll move. Moved.
I'll
I'll
second
second it then.
It's been moved and seconded for adjournment. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 None opposed. Thank you very much. And this concludes the meeting of the MDTA board at 12:10 PM. Thank you all and have a great day.
Thank you. Have a good day.